having a giant calendar that you can plan out your year, it makes it visual. And because many people think in pictures, they think visually, it gives you the opportunity to look at your entire year and start blocking out days, blocking out chunks of time that you're going to spend with your family, that you're going to go on adventures, that you're going to take trips, that you're going to plow into some focused work to expand your business, whatever it is that you're going to fill your year with. Welcome back to the Struggle and Strive podcast. I am your host, Estel Wallace. We are in the middle of our goal setting and priorities series. Today, we are going to do a segment on the EOS system. It can be found in the book called Traction by Gino Wickman. So the Entrepreneurial Operating System is a framework for organizing and prioritizing goals inside of businesses and teams. My hat's off to Gino Wickman. He put together a really sophisticated and complex system and framework for goal setting. I got to tell you, it's so sophisticated. As I've said in other videos, I'm more of a visionary and less of an integrator. And so when I read it, my eyes glazed over. It was just overwhelming for me. And I thought, you know what? I don't have time to learn all these acronyms and all these, all this extra stuff. I'm already busy. I have a full-time gig going. And I didn't utilize it. It was only a few weeks after I'd read Traction, someone gave me the book Measure What Matters by John Doerr. We did a segment on OKRs before this. I read Measure What Matters, and all of a sudden Traction clicked. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to the office. And she said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I went into our office and I was there until very early in the morning. Not on a computer, actually on one of those comically oversized pieces like pads of graph paper. And I wrote it out like 50 times trying to make sure I got the concept so that I could relay it to my team. My team was only about 10 people then. That specific team at Cornerstone, we're 120 people now. So we've 10x'd, 12x since then. But at that time, we were only about 9 or 10 people. And I was just getting my mind wrapped around how this goal setting framework thing would work. And I slept for a few hours at the office. When my team started to roll in around 7:30 or 8 in the morning, I got up off the couch, got myself some coffee. When everybody was assembled, I said, we got to have a meeting. And I rolled out, hey, we're gonna start keeping track of what we're up to, and we're gonna aim it at certain objectives. And we began using this. So at Cornerstone, we've been using sort of a hybrid between OKRs and the EOS system for 7 years now. And it has absolutely transformed our business. We, like I said, 12x, 13x since we began using the system. That means a lot more people feed their families. It means that our service offering touches a lot more lives. It means we help a lot more people. And generally, the company generates a lot more revenue as a result. We achieve our goals at a much higher scale because everybody on our teams has a much clearer sense of direction. That being said, let's talk about the EOS system a little bit. I already sort of told you it's a lot more sophisticated than the OKRs. The OKRs are really simple, which is, I think, why that helped me understand the Traction system. By understanding the OKRs, the EOS then filled in some of the gaps that I felt like the OKR system left. For example, they're very insistent on 90-day cycles. Like OKR cycles are generally 90 days. In the Traction system, they really harp on doing 90-day cycles. The other thing that was really fascinating about the EOS system is they give you templates for what your annual meetings should look like, how long they should take, what kind of reporting you should have. They give you templates for quarterly meetings, for quarterly session meetings. They also really impress upon you that to do what they call a weekly meeting pulse or a level 10. We call them L10s. It's interesting when I meet other entrepreneurs or business owners and they ask me if we do level 10s and I'm like, oh, you know about the EOS. It's fantastic. So yes, we do L10s weekly. In fact, our main business, Cornerstone, is now it's a platform agency. We have multiple facilities with centralized management that's off-site. So we're actually in our management office right now. So it's a pretty large and growing organization. And as such, we do multiple L10s a week. We do them per facility, and then we do one in leadership as well. So I think there are 3 or 4 L10s that happen every week. In addition to that, we obviously do them quarterly and the obvious annual session, which takes longer. We kind of go through everything from the previous year, look at the oncoming year. If you have not read either book, strong recommendation. We did a series on career and finances. I did post both of those books on my short list of book suggestions for people that are interested in making more money, that are interested in propelling their careers forward, that are interested in entrepreneurship, that are interested in buying businesses, etc. I'll give you a little disclaimer here on reading. I'm an avid reader, but not in the way you might think. I don't physically read physical books, at least not very often. I still do sometimes. Mostly what I do is I listen to audiobooks. And I'll give you a little story as to why. Because I discovered through mentorship that I could excel my education and what I was capable of in the world by reading. It's an inexpensive education. So I started reading as much as I could consume. But I got to tell you, that was about 4 books a year. I was reading slowly. I was reading at night, and I get sleepy, and I go to bed, and I forget what I read. I got to reread things. I got introduced to Audible about 2013 or 14, and I got my first audiobook. I think it might have been The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, and I burned through it. I mean, like in a few days, I was listening to it at the gym. I was listening to it in the car. And next thing you know, I'm like, well, what should I read next? And I burned through anywhere from 2 to 4 books a month, generally year over year, which really increases my capacity for learning. It increases my capacity to imagine what's next. I think so much of what limits a human generally is our own limitations. And sometimes we're just limited by not knowing what we don't know. So reading for me has been exponentially one of the most valuable skills I've added to my stack. And I would suggest if you're not reading a ton, that you start reading a ton. If you're interested in self-improvement, reading is one of the fastest ways to get there. I would also caveat that with practical application of the really interesting stuff that you read about. If you haven't read these 2 books, I highly recommend them. They'll help put some definition to how am I going to get from here to there. If you've done some future authoring and you've looked at the OKR system and you've got some ideas like, all right, these are the objectives I want to accomplish this year, and these are the ideas on how I'm going to get there, then the vision traction organizer, which is like a template that you fill out, it paints that picture that we just described. And then they give you all the templates for how you're going to have a meeting. Even if you're with yourself, you can have a meeting with yourself and you can document the progress week over week in the weekly meeting pulse. This gives you some real tools to set some objectives and to go after them. Why don't we roll right into the last piece? This is going to be on priorities. And we're going to talk about the Big Ass Calendar. If you're not familiar with the Big Ass Calendar, just Google it. A guy named Jesse Itzler came up with what he calls the Big Ass Calendar. And it is exactly that. It is a giant laminated calendar. He does them for each year. Having a giant calendar that you can plan out your year, it makes it visual. And because many people think in pictures, they think visually, it gives you the opportunity to look at your entire year and start blocking out days, blocking out chunks of time that you're going to spend with your family, that you're going to go on adventures, that you're going to take trips, that you're going to, plow into some focused work to expand your business, whatever it is that you're going to fill your year with. It's so rudimentary and simple. It's something that's easy to overlook. We can get really overwhelmed with tech and think, I've got to use this tool and I've got this in my software stack. Using the Big Ass Calendar has been such a game changer for Nicole and I. We've come up with looking at our year with so much more intention by seeing it all in one place at one time. So we go through, we color code it. A lot of our family and friends use it. If you don't have one, absolutely it's worth checking out. They're not expensive. I think they're 10 or 20 bucks or something. Anyway, if you've got a Big Ass Calendar and you go through and start blocking out important events, vacations, deadlines, all of the things, you do it by color. So you've got it color coded. Now you can visually look at your year at a glance. You can write down milestones, goals, anything like that. Once you've done that, what I do, I translate what's in the Big Ass Calendar into my Google Calendar so that I've got the big important stuff planned out and already booked. I don't know what your life is like, what your year looks like with people asking you to join for certain commitments. But for me, if I didn't plan the year out with some intention, my year could get filled with all kinds of random things, not necessarily bad things, but all kinds of things that were not my intention in January. So that gives us a framework for the entire year. We know how we're spending our time. We know what our objectives are because we use OKRs within our family. This is where I want to get really crazy. You can take everything that we've done in this relatively short series on goal setting, and you can synthesize it into one way that you operate. So we have future authoring, OKRs, the EOS system, and the Big Ass Calendar. We synthesize all of that together, and we do it based off of what's most important to us for the year. So if you're reading into the EOS system and you're looking at annual sessions, my wife and I, we do our own private annual session. So we look at our previous year. What are the wins? What are the losses? What are the things that we could have done better? Where are the places we fell short? And where are the places we really succeeded and crushed it? Then we look at the future, at the next year. And we use the OKR framework. We use the meeting schedules from the EOS system. Then we take that output and we put it onto the Big Ass Calendar. Then we translate it into our Google Calendars. And I got to tell you, Nicole and I know exactly what we're up to. We know exactly what the kids are up to. We know what our businesses are up to. We know exactly what's going on. And it's not about rigidity either. We bake in lots of vacation time. For my wife and I, we plan trips, kid-free trips a few times a year, just she and I. We have regular date nights. We do them weekly. That sort of stuff gets baked in. Generally speaking, I book Friday at 3 p.m. until Monday morning at 5 a.m. at home. That way it's booked in my calendar, and I don't have to make excuses if somebody on the fly tries to get me to commit to something. It's not that I need an excuse. It's that I've prioritized the time I'm spending with my family. It keeps my weekends in a stress-free, non-committed space where I can just be with my family and enjoy that time. That being said, parenting and my role as a father is really, really important to me. It's really, really important to my wife. And they're only going to be little once. I don't know that I'm going to be, on my deathbed wishing I had worked more or wished I had spent more time away from my kids. I want to be remembered by my children as a dad that gave a shit, that was there, that supported them and that taught them and that loved them, that tried to prepare them as best I could for the world outside ahead of them. So that's pretty much it for goal setting and priorities. Like I said, if you can take each of the components we've talked about and synthesize them into one process, you're going to have just a turbocharged engine for going where you want to go with intention. Again, whether it's in with your marriage, with your children, with your business, with your career, with your fitness, with whatever it is, you've got some great tools here. Maybe some of you guys are using them already. If this is new to you, I would encourage you, take your time, consume some of these books, learn some of this stuff, and tinker with it within your own life, within your own schedule, and see if it doesn't help. By getting some intention on what we want to do and where we want to go, we incredibly increase our chances of getting where we want to go. So that's it for goal setting and priorities. I want to thank you for joining us. If you didn't get your downloadable study guide, feel free to go to struggleandstrive.co, and I will see you when we do our next series.